Alright, can you see my screen, eh? This is from chapter 8. Okay, so again, Assalamualaikum and good morning everyone. Hope you are all doing fine. We are in week 12 already. Sekejap je eh. So we have another 1.5 topics, but the final topic is basically reading topics lah, and maybe I can assign you just to read the chapter. So this would be the last topics for our calculation, business taxation, which include both business income and also business deductions. Okay, this topic is actually I can say that this is an introduction to business taxation that later on most of you will be taking taxation 2. So taxation 2 basically is about business taxation. So you will learn a lot about all those investment allowance, business income, business deductions, different types of deductions for company. So this topic, excuse me, this topic is just an introduction to you, to introduce to you the different types of business income and also business deduction. So this is nothing to do with personal tax anymore. So we have done all the topics about our personal taxation because at the moment you calculate the tax payable for individual, that's it for individual taxation. So this is for business taxation. So it's a bit different because for personal, what we did before was section 4B until F, and now we have section A. Right? I keep coming to, keep saying that we'll wait for business income before we can compute, or before we want to look at for example, the capital allowance and dekat mana tempat dia. So this is where capital allowance comes in. Alright, so for business income, it is defined in section 2 and it is actually taxed under section 4A. Pagi-pagi ni suara tak apa nak keluar sangat. I haven't had my coffee, so alright, and then employment income is taxed under 4B, so kita boleh continue lah for B, C, D, E, F, and the one that we have done before. So for this week, the focus is only on section 4A, small a, business income. Alright, so in order for us to decide and to help us to determine whether a certain type of income is indeed a business income, we have these rules that is called badges of trade. Right, so the court in Malaysia has ruled certain criteria to determine whether income is derived is, as you can see here, is considered as trade income or business income. Alright, so the Radcliffe Commission UK, so as you all know, kita punya law, kita banyak ikut UK, Commonwealth countries, so kita follow UK. So UK also listed 6 badges of trade. For example, this is actually to decide, contohnya kita kata, kita nampak, you can see that, okay, someone dia ada banyak rumah, dia beli rumah, dia buat untuk rental. Kalau satu, kalau dua, mungkin kita kata itu side income dia, so kita boleh masuk sebagai personal income dia under rental income. What if orang tu memang rumah dia sangat banyak dan dia memang tak ada buat kerja lain, dia full time rental je, right? So can that be considered as rental income or rental income under 4D or business income under 4A? So these are the criteria that will help us decide whether certain types of incomes are actually business income or not. Right, so the first one is the subject matter. For example, saya tak ingat buku mana saya baca, dia bagi contoh toilet roll, toilet paper. Dia kata kalau beli toilet paper 1 bungkus, 2 bungkus, it is actually for your own use. But if you have thousands of toilet papers, the subject matter tu, even though it is just a toilet paper, but the purpose tu, kalau you beli thousands of it, kita memang nampak that is for income generating purposes, bukan for personal use. So the subject matter kita tengok juga lah whether dia income generating, so that would be considered as business income, or just a personal enjoyment to owner. Right? sometimes it can be that mula-mula dia adalah personal enjoyment. For example, ada orang yang minat kucing kan, dia beli kucing, dia bela kucing, like dia ada hundreds of cats. Okay, itu untuk personal enjoyment. Tapi bila sampai satu stage yang dia rasa macam, oh this is a lot, I want to sell. Kalau dia setakat sell seekor, 2 ekor tu fine, itu boleh consider sebagai personal enjoyment lagi. But kalau dia keep buying and then keep selling, itu mungkin dah boleh jadi income generating. Even though it started off as a hobby. Okay, later kita ada juga section untuk hobby tu. Okay, so the second one is period of ownership. For period of ownership, normally if we keep something for at least 5 years and we know itu bukan untuk income generating. If you purchase something and you use it for maybe 1 or 2 years and then you sell, so the period of ownership is shorter. So when the period of ownership is short, we can say that, oh, ini memang dia untuk income generating and that can fall under business income. Okay, the third one is frequency of transactions. Okay, repeated similar or less than 3 transaction per year. Macam tadilah example toilet roll tadi. So kalau untuk personal use, you maybe beli sebulan sekali or 2 bulan sekali. You beli a lot untuk simpan. But kalau the frequency tu repeated, macam every week kena beli, like you have thousands of toilet rolls, itu dah bukan untuk personal use. So the frequency pun will indicate whether it is a business income or not. Number 4 is supplementary work on asset. For example, you purchase something and you alter or improve the property, right? You purchase a house, but you renovate, you improve the asset because you want to rent. So kita boleh nampak lah the supplementary work. If there is a supplementary work on that asset, that can be considered as business income. Right, number 5, set up to dispose of goods. Is it ad hoc or proper set up? Okay, let's say you have macam tadilah kita cerita dia ada kucing banyak so sometimes bila ada kawan minta dia jual. So ad hoc dia tak ada set up. It's like a proper business to sell cats. Tak ada. So kalau ada proper set up, then that can be considered as business income juga. And last one is motive for transaction. Is it long term or short term? So kalau untuk short term kita nampak itu untuk profit making lah. So if ada 6 kriteria ni, we can say that okay, that particular income falls under business income. Because we have to decide the income tax, the Inland Revenue Board has to decide because sometimes dia datang dengan bermacam-macam jenis income. So they have to decide whether ini nak tax under business income or nak tax under personal income je. Alright, additional badges of trade, ada juga 3 additional badges of trade from case law. So kalau tengok chapter 1 dulu, ingat tak kita ada rules untuk tax ni kan? Salah satu guideline is actually from case law. So number 1, circumstances surround this transaction, profit motive as a factor and also intention to trade. Okay. Alright, I have one example here from your textbook page 209. So those of you with textbook can go through the example, otherwise you can look at my notes here. So example 2, page 209, we have here Mr. Robert. He has several properties in Putra Heights which he had no intention to sell. Okay, dah tak ada intention to sell. We can look for keywords here. So in December 2017, he was diagnosed with a serious illness and had to incur high medical bills. In January 2018, he sold a property for 1 million. The original cost in 2009 was 450,000. So state whether the profit is subject to income tax in 2018. Okay. So we can see here, dia kata ada property, no intention to sell, but because of the serious illness and he needs money, so he sold the property for 1 million. So dia dapat untung lah 550,000 tu. So the profit tu dia tanya, is it subject to tax? It's not, as there is no element of trading. Lain lah kalau dia memang ada 10 rumah, dia every year dia jual, so that can be ada element of trading. So here Mr. Robert ni tak ada element of trading. This is to actually explain this one, despite the circumstances surround this transaction. So dia jual sebab dia sakit and he needs money, and there is no motive as a factor and also there is no intention to trade. So in this case, there is no, the profit will not be taxed lah, because there is no element of trading. Alright, next factor is must be mutual transactions. a person cannot trade with himself, kita mesti jual dekat orang lah. And the surplus of contribution over expenditure cannot be income. Alright, so factors influencing the mutual concept ni boleh baca. Alright, what about illegal activities? Nampak tak, income tax ni dia don't care, because if you can read here, section 4A does not distinguish between a legal and an illegal business income. Legal ke, tak legal ke, kalau the activity tu carried on has the characteristic of a business, then the income will be assessed under section 4A, notwithstanding its illegal or immoral character. Alright, ini tadi saya kata lah, what about hobbies tadi? Hobi dia bela kucing, sampai kucing dia sampai beratus-ratus, beribu-ribu, and then they sell. Asalnya daripada nak jual sikit-sikit, dah jadi jual yang banyak, so hobby. Will be taxable if it can be shown that what was done is a business in the nature of a trade, or is an adventure in the nature of trade. Walaupun it started off as a hobby or gambling. Alright, what about trading in shares? Kita tahu those yang berminat dengan investment ni, they trade shares all the time. So kita nak tengok juga trading in shares. You buy and sell shares. Bila ada harga turun je, okay beli. Harga naik je jual. So we have to decide, is it a trade or adventure in the nature of trade? So here the DGIR ni, the Director General of Indian Revenue, ini kuasa paling besar lah, the ketua pengarah lembaga hasil. So he or she will take into account the following factors. The nature of occupation of individuals. Is he a speculator? Okay, background of the taxpayer, and there is a possibility of insider trading. If he holds himself as a dealer in stock and shares, or if his share operations are organised. So kalau macam ni, kita mungkin boleh katakan it is a trade, and the income generated can be considered as business income. Walaupun mungkin asalnya dia buat untuk suka-suka je kan. Alright, so the test ada pula Liming versus Jones punya case, jadi digunakan sebagai basis. So the test for the positive existence of trade incorporate 3 factors. Special skill, organization, special skill, and the subject matter lending itself to commercial transaction. And the various pages of trade must also be applied to the above factors. So on top of this, untuk trading in shares ni, kita akan tengok balik the 6 pages of trade tadi. Alright, trading in shares for companies pun, if the investment is, if the fact that companies are formed with a view of making profits, it is difficult to prove that the transactions are merely investment. Kita tahu bila company, sometimes company pun beli shares dan dia invest. So the investment tu, the trading in shares tu, kita nak kena assess juga whether it is a business income or kita nak letak dia sebagai investment je. Because most of the time for trading in shares companies ni, kita letak under investment. Taxability of grant, tak ada apalah. Alright, charge to income tax. So this is important. Under section 3, Income Tax Act 1967, saya highlight yang warna merah tu. Income tax shall be charged each year for each year of assessment upon the income of any person accruing in or derived from Malaysia, or received in Malaysia from outside Malaysia. Nah, you kena faham konsep ni. Satu kita kata kalau kita kerja dekat Malaysia, kita dapat income from Malaysia, that will be taxed or that will be considered as derived from Malaysia. Or sometimes we receive dividend from investment outside Malaysia. So kita beli saham untuk company, let's say di Hong Kong, di Singapore, so we receive the dividend, we receive the money from outside Malaysia. So itu pun kita kena kira juga the tax dia nanti. Alright, derivation of business income in certain cases. Okay, ini 12.1a ni dia special sikit Gross income from the business as is not attributable to operations of the business carried on outside Malaysia shall be deemed derived from Malaysia. Let's say company dia ada branch dekat overseas the income yang dia dapat dekat overseas tu is actually deemed derived from Malaysia kalau company tu head office dia dekat Malaysia. So kita tengok satu example lepas ni. Right, so what will help us decide whether business income is deemed to be derived from Malaysia? Walaupun business operation tu tidak berlaku di Malaysia but this condition ni kita boleh tengok. For example, contract concluded in Malaysia, stocks maintained in Malaysia from which orders are fulfilled. Let's say stocks semua simpan dekat Malaysia tapi customer dia semua dekat Singapore. Alright, that can be also considered as income derived from Malaysia. Ownership and risk passes in Malaysia. Macam contract concluded in Malaysia, sign semua dekat Malaysia Sale proceeds received in Malaysia and also services rendered in Malaysia. So if there is this situation so we can say that the business income is deemed to be derived from Malaysia. Ada word deemed dekat sini maksudnya dia bukan straightforward derived from Malaysia lah Kalau operation tu branch dekat Malaysia, customer pun di Malaysia, so direct straightforward kita nampak itu memang income derived from Malaysia. Sekarang ni we use the word deemed deemed maksudnya dia bukan straightforward lah Okay, example. Right, you boleh tengok example ni and then let me know. Alright, we have here Aqua Sendirian Berhad. Okay, it's a Malaysian company Sendirian Berhad. Deals in home appliances. The company has a branch in Hong Kong. Goods were shipped from the Malaysian office, nampak office kat Malaysia to the Hong Kong branch at a cost of 150,000 plus a markup of 10% and subsequently sold by the branch to local customer for 200,000. The question is how much profit was derived from Malaysia and subject to tax in Malaysia. What do you think? Is there any profits that can be taxed in Malaysia or there is no profit that can be taxed in Malaysia? Anyone? What do you think? Alright, yang kata profit 200,000. Ya ke profit 200,000? How do you calculate profit? 200,000 is the selling price Alright, what about the rest? What do you think? Ada profit tak that will be subject to tax in Malaysia? Okay, 15K. Yep. Any other answers tak? Maybe, okay, Irwan ada maybe kat situ Alright, so the condition here is that the keyword here dia kata dia ada branch Bila dia ada branch in Hong Kong and goods were shipped from the Malaysian office, which means the goods are kept here in Malaysia So here kita boleh katakan the profit, sebab dekat sini tadi dia kata the cost is 150,000 plus a markup of 10%. So the profit here is actually 10% from 150,000 lah. Siapa jawab 15 tadi? Sufian, yes. Profit is 15,000 So this one ni is taxable. In Malaysia 15,000. So sekarang ni dia ada branch dekat Hong Kong. What if, boleh because the company dia ada branch dekat Hong Kong, bila dia ada branch dekat Hong Kong sana, the goods are kept here, dia jual dekat customer untuk harga 200,000 tu tak kisah, because here kita kata dekat sini the price is actually markup of 10%. So the profit here is 10% times 150,000 the cost, which is 15,000 and this 15,000 is taxable. Okay, another condition is that what if the company ni dia tak ada branch dekat Hong Kong. Nampak? Ada branch dekat Hong Kong, ship from Malaysia pergi ke Hong Kong branch. So profit dia 10%. But if dia tak ada branch, which means they sell directly to consumer lah dekat Hong Kong. Dia tak ada branch, barang dekat Malaysia terus hantar pergi dekat customer dekat Hong Kong. Dia kata tadi dia jual terus dekat customer tu, harga dia 200,000. So the cost is 150,000. Kalau tak ada branch, this is the profit yang taxable. Tinggal kosong pula. Taxable. Nampak tak? Ada branch, lagi kurang the profit that will be tax. Kalau tak ada branch, dia jual direct dia 200,000 dekat customer dekat sana, the profit that will be tax is 50,000. Sekarang ni kita ambil ni je, markup cost dia je 10% kalau dia ada branch. So this is how we calculate to see how company might be taxed. Alright, another factor which is important is the commencement of business. Alright, we want to know when the business commenced, because we want to assess the basis period, which means when is the date that we can actually tax the business, because we need to know the commencement date of the business. So it is important to identify the actual commencement date for several reasons. Number one is to determine the basis period in relation to the assessment year, to identify the expenditure incurred before the date of commencement, to identify capital expenditure incurred, and also to allow capital allowance against the business income in relation to the relevant assessment year. So it is very important to look at the commencement date of the business. For example, when people want to commence a business, dia memang ada banyak capital expenditure incurred to purchase plant and machinery lah, land, building semua tu, so that we can identify those are actually capital expenditure. Or sometimes the expenditure are incurred before the date of commencement, and we call it pre-operation expenses. That is not taxable. Alright, so what is the general guide? For example, when it embarks on activities directly related to the generation of income from the business, or when everything is in place for the activity to commence. Right. Look at this example here. So based on this guide, the commencement of the business ni, dia kata embark on activities and when everything is in place. What do you think? Look at this example and give me when is the date of commencement of this business, Precision Manufacturing Sdn Bhd. Okay, what do you think? When is the commencement date for precision manufacturing ni? A lot of date here. Alright, so here kita boleh tengok 1st March dia kata purchase land and factory for business. Belum commence lagi lah. June 2017, completed refurbishing of factory. September 2017, installation of plant and machinery. December 2017, arrival of raw materials. February 2018, production of electrical tools. And March, sale of electrical tools. Okay, one thing here, this is actually a manufacturer, right? For a manufacturer, alright, so Aisyah and Mirsha, ya betul, December 2017. This is the commencement date. Because why? This is a manufacturer. The manufacturer ni sebenarnya bila barang raw materials dah ada, dia dah boleh produce. Even though you look at the date, arrival of raw materials in December 2017, but the production starts in February 2018. Okay, but this is a manufacturer. Right, so for a manufacturer dia lain manufacturer, retailer kita tengok the commencement date dia lain. So here when the raw materials arrive, the company actually can start producing the electrical tools. Tapi dia decide untuk delay dulu kan. So here the commencement date is 1st December 2017. Okay, okay tak? Okay kan? Straightforward je because this is a manufacturer. Right, next example, what do you think? Okay, Mirsha, 1st April 2019. What about the rest? What do you think? Okay, Malini pun sama, 1st April. Any other dates? End of March. Okay. 1st April. Alright, this is different Tadi kita tengok manufacturer, raw material sampai je dah boleh start production and dah boleh commence a business. Here it is a retailer retailer supermarket. Nampak dia sign agreement, ini bukanlah dia beli equipment, dia recruit staff, barang dia sampai and will arrange on the shelves. Okay, you rasa kalau supermarket barang dia baru susun, kita buka kedai tak? Tak kan? Dia kena settle everything dulu and then the supermarket was open to the public on 1st April 2019. So this is the commencement date of the business. Walaupun dalam ni kata the first sale was made on 5th April, doesn't matter. Dia buka je for public, that is the commencement date So the date of commencement is 1 April 2019. But you have to state with reasons, tak boleh bagi date tu saja So again, this is a retailer, dia buka business and offer goods for sale. That is the commencement of business. Macam ni tadilah. Everything is in place for a retailer Beza dengan manufacturer tadi. Okay, alright. Boleh kan? Straightforward je New business or continuation ni tak perlu, tak ada, boleh baca je. Okay, tadi kita tengok commencement date and bila business tu dah nak tutup pun sama juga. We need to look at the date such as the winding down, bila dia start nak cease the business, because it is important for tax purposes to determine the exact date of cessation of a business Sebab selagi business tu running, income tu dikira sebagai pendapatan lah After that dah dikira sebagai capital. So when you close a business, you sell everything, that would be your capital, bukan lagi income Alright, what about advance receipts? Okay, so the concept is different with accounting. So in accounting, we have accruals. In taxation, tak ada accruals. Like I always say to you that in taxation, it is a pay as you earn concept. You dapat, you bayar tax, regardless of the service tu dah perform ataupun belum. Right, for example, masa kita buat rental income, kita ada advance receipt. So remember, it is tax in the year of receipts bukan di tax pada tahun yang sepatutnya tu. Let's say you dapat advance rental for next year, that will be tax this year walaupun income tu belongs to next year so that is the difference between tax dengan accounting lah sebab dalam tax tak ada accruals. Alright, so sebab tu dekat sini ada ayat ni despite the fact that no debt has arisen yet or services have not been rendered or property has not been used or enjoyed. So mesti sum received in advance ni must be recognized as income and be subject to tax in the year of receipts. Alright, so this is for advance. So untuk yang ni I think you have no problem sebab kita dah buat rental income hari tu. So whatever yang dia dapat awal tu memang kena tax Alright, so some example of advance receipt of income: mobile phone prepaid credit, stored value cards, annual subscriptions paid in advance, football season tickets, concert, beauty treatment. Alright, trading with and trading in Malaysia. So a company that trades in Malaysia is liable to tax on the income derived from that trade. Kalau dia ada direct physical presence in Malaysia. Contohnya dia ialah Singapore punya company tapi dia ada office dekat Malaysia. So dikira the trade tu is done in Malaysia and the income derived from that trade tu sebab dia ada physical presence in Malaysia. So the business is, we can see that the business is carried out in Malaysia. The test is not whether the profit yang dia dapat tu arose from a business carried on in Malaysia. Dia not so much on the profit tapi dia on the operation, bukan the profit. Kalau kita kata business tu profit tu dia dapat from Malaysia tapi kita kena tengok the operation dia tu took place in Malaysia ataupun tidak. Alright, so factors to be considered in determining if a business is carried on in Malaysia. Alright, so macam tadi juga first of all kita tengok the contract, kat mana contract tu dia sign or execute. Business operations from which the profit is in substance arose are carried out, where the title to the goods pass from the seller to buyer and the proceeds of sales are received. But ini bukan conclusive criteria. So the DGIR normally they will assess lah. So the details of this nanti semua you all akan belajar masa belajar tax 2 nanti. So for now I just introduce to you macam mana kita nak determine the criteria of a business income je. The details, the detail yang banyak tu nanti will be dealt in tax 2. Because you can see here for under tax 1 ni, business taxation ni kita buat untuk seminggu lebih je. But in tax 2 nanti business taxation you buat 1 semester. Okay, ada income. Alright, I would like to go to our previous example, which is Vincent Chin. So page 290, we have discussed Vincent Chin before. Tapi if you remember last time masa kita buat Vincent Chin tu, is it page 290? Masa kita buat Vincent Chin hari tu, remember I skip the business income part, the business sources. Business sources tu kita skip. Kita untuk Vincent Chin last time ni, kita hanya buat dekat dia section 4B and the rest. Section 4A ni kita skip dulu. So what I have here is that I copied the business sources dia. So kita boleh tengok, because for today kita nak buat untuk bahagian business ni je. And you can continue the answer because last time kita buat, kita tukar figure kan, kita tak ada business income. So our aggregate income last time nombornya lain not yang sama macam dekat sini. So now since you have this one, so you can continue balik example ni using the same figure yang dalam buku tax. So kalau ada yang tak ada buku teks, maybe later on your friend can snap a picture and share dekat our group, so that everybody can go through the example. Okay, so business source of income received by Vincent in the basis year for the year assessment 2018 are, so I just copied the business source dia. Dia sekarang dia ada two types of business, bookshop and restaurant. Alright, so for bookshop it is an adjusted income, positive figure, and for a restaurant it is an adjusted loss, in bracket. And he also has brought forward loss untuk business bookshop ni. Last year dia rugi, so brought forward 15,000. Untuk restaurant tak ada. Balancing charge, no balancing charge for bookshop, but 5,000 balancing charge for restaurant. 15,000 capital allowance for bookshop and 10,000 for the restaurant. And he also have capital allowance brought forward for the restaurant. Vincent had an overseas business income of 200,000, of which 50% was remitted to Malaysia. The capital allowance attributed to the business was 16,000. Right, so if you look at the answer here, kita kena buat satu-satu. So let's say dia ada 5 types of business, you kena buat 5 lah. Dia tak boleh terus combine. Kita kena buat satu-satu like this. Alright, so this is under section 4A. Remember, kita tengah buat business income. So for Vincent Chin ni, if you look at this example, this is a comprehensive example. As an individual, Vincent ni dia ada business. But later on, soalan ataupun example yang saya akan buat is actually totally on a business. Sekarang ni dia ialah personal tapi dia ada business. So we can combine, alright? So do not get confused. So this is a personal tax lagi for Vincent Chin. Saya cuma continue balik example hari tu je. Alright, so for bookshop dia ada income. For restaurant, sebab tadi dia loss kan. So untuk loss you tak payah letak lagi dekat sini, letak nil je or dash je. Alright, so balancing charge kena tambah lah for the restaurant, bookshop tak ada. Alright, capital allowance for the current year. Macam sini tadi this is the current year capital allowance, 15 and 10. Alright, 15 and 10. Okay, untuk restaurant dia ada capital allowance brought forward 5,000. Which means tahun lepas dia ada loss so bila dia ada loss capital allowance dia tak boleh nak tolak semua. Okay, so we bring here the capital allowance brought forward. Nampak tak? Sekarang ni dia for bookshop dia ada income, capital allowance 15,000, dia ada adjusted statutory business income 175. 190 minus 15, 175. Look at the restaurant. Dia rugi business ni rugi. Dia ada balancing charge of 5,000. Capital allowance dia 15. So 5 minus 15. Patutnya 50 lah. Kalau 15 dekat sini, minus 15, then dekat sini tak ada unabsorbed capital allowance. Sekarang ni balancing charge dia 5,000 tapi capital allowance dia 15,000. Tak boleh tolak semua kan sebab tak cukup. So dia akan jadi unabsorbed capital allowance brought forward. Ini carried forward. Carried forward to next year. So this one nanti kita bawa pergi next year, dia akan jadi capital allowance brought forward. For a business that is making a loss, dia akan ada capital allowance brought forward sebab dia tak ada profit nak ditolakkan. Alright, so for restaurant ni dia tak adalah adjusted income from business sebab dia business dia memang loss kan. So we bring 175 here. Okay, overseas business is exempted. Ini tadi saya tak mention Bila kita tengok dekat atas ni, I go back to this point. Mana tadi? Here. Okay. Sini. For a resident company or for a resident individual, whatever income received from remitted from outside Malaysia to Malaysia is not taxable. So income remitted into Malaysia, macam tadi dia ada business, dia bawa masuk Malaysia from overseas by a resident, okay, exempted from tax. Right, so kita tengok balik Vincent Chin tadi. Nampak dia ada business kan? Ni salah yang lain. Where is Vincent Chin tadi? Okay, dia kata dia ada overseas business income 50% was remitted to Malaysia. Capital allowance 16,000. This is not taxable. So kalau tengok answer dia, overseas business income is exempted. Overseas capital allowance pun exempted. So this is the format. Saya tak sambung terus lah. Because for this question, kalau tengok dia ada income kan, dia ada section 4B, C, D. Okay. So from here, you add other income. So kita dah ada satu figure dekat sini, 175 ni. So you take this figure, dah jadi satu figure sekarang sebab kita dah combine dua ni. And then we add other income. Other income, based on the question, kita akan kira lah sampailah dapat aggregate income. Saya tak letak nombor dekat sini lah. Sampai kita dapat aggregate income. Alright, remember tadi business restaurant dia is making a loss. Dekat atas ni, loss kita tak letak. Loss kita letak dekat bawah ni. Dah dapat aggregate income, baru kita tolak loss yang 18,000 tadi tu. Okay, loss dia tolak kat bawah. And then dalam soalan ni dia ada donation juga. Donation ni penting dia sama ada 7% of aggregate income or whatever amount yang dia paid. Alright. Kita nak yang lower kat sini. So dah dapat total income, tolak dengan relief, barulah dia dapat chargeable income. So from chargeable income, you can calculate the tax payable. Okay, ini saya just tunjuk section sini sebab this is a personal or individual tax lagi. Ini bukan comprehensive example untuk business taxation. Okay. Any questions for business income before we move on to business deduction? You all kena baca what you have to do is yang ada textbook, yang tak ada textbook saya tak tahu nak buat macam mana lah but you have to read for the business income ni, you have to read line by line baru boleh faham apa or what are the criteria what are the conditions that will decide or that will help us decide whether certain type of income is actually a business income. Okay, if you have no question, I will move on to business deductions. So let's take 3 minutes break sebelum saya start dengan business deduction pula. Because we have to look at both the income and also the deduction before we can arrive at profit. Because sekarang ni kita nak tahu how much profit the company is making because we want to tax the profit. Kita bukan tax the income, kita tax the profit. So kita nak tahu the profit lah. So in order for us to know the profit, kita kena tahu lah apa income dia, apa deduction dia. Okay. Alright, let's take 3 minutes break. Oh, banyak siap-siap ni. Dah 3 minit belum? Sudah Okay, alright. So the next section would be business deductions. So one thing is kalau dalam accounting kita ada income and then kita ada expenses. So income minus expenses that will give us a profit. But in taxation, those expenses are actually they call it business deductions. Dia lain sikit lah And the profit derived from a business based on accounting is different from profit derived from tax computation. So biasanya kita akan buat adjustment lah for our tax computation. So nanti akan ada beza your income or your income tax paid dalam accounting punya calculation and also dalam income tax punya calculation. Okay. Sebab tu you all belajar deferred tax Saya tak sure you ada belajar deferred tax belum. So that is deferred tax The difference between tax dalam accounting and tax dalam taxation Okay. Business deductions. Ini tak ada apalah revenue receipt arising from business. Ini kita tengah buat lah section 4A. Gross income from a business. So these are income from business that it can be cash or debt arising in the course of carrying the business, non-refundable advance receipts kalau ada, bad debts written off in previous year which was subsequently recovered pun boleh jadi income. Dividend income from a share dealing business, dividend income in investment and also interest income of banks, financial institution or money lender. Ini kalau these are actually topics yang kita dah discuss sebelum ni under section 4B until 4B D ni, but it can also be income from a business Alright, principle of deduction. What can we deduct and what we cannot deduct So the cash receipts capital receipts are not taxable, capital expenditure are not deductible. So the word yang kita akan guna throughout the chapter is taxable and also deductible Maksudnya deductible ni boleh tolak ataupun tidak, taxable ni kena tax ataupun tidak. Okay. So for expenditure to qualify for deduction, it must be related to the business carried on by a taxpayer and the expenditure must be incurred in the period which the income is brought to charge. Tak boleh lah income tahun ni tapi kita nak deduct the deduction untuk tahun depan tak boleh. So this year income this year is the business deduction will be done for this year juga. Alright. Okay, under section 33 ni banyak section yang akan belajar. Section 33 ni kita kata allowable deduction, deduction yang boleh ditolak. Ada juga yang disallowed ada allowed untuk ditolak, ada yang disallowed untuk ditolak. So under section 33, the allowable deductions must be wholly and exclusively incurred in the production of gross income. Under section 39, dia list down yang tak boleh tolak Section 33 dia list down yang boleh, section 39 dia list down yang tak boleh. We also have specific provisions to allow a deduction under specific situations. Ada juga specific provisions under section 33(1)(d) and also section 34 and section 35. Okay, so first of all, we have to distinguish between the revenue and also capital expenditure. So by now, I think you all have no problem in distinguishing which actually the revenue expenditure and also capital expenditure, right? For example, kalau kita ambil plant and machinery lah, when you purchase the plant and machinery or when you purchase a motor vehicle, itu ialah capital expenditure. But for the repair and maintenance, isi petrol, hantar pergi servis, so those are revenue expenditure. So it is important for us to identify dia adalah revenue expenditure or capital expenditure. Kalau capital expenditure, kita tak boleh deduct. Kalau revenue expenditure, kita boleh deduct, it is allowable. Macam expenses dalam income statement lah, the capital expenditure kita tak boleh tolak sebagai expenses. Alright, so what are the characteristic of revenue and capital expenditure? First of all, the lump sum payment. Biasanya kalau payment tu lump sum, dia adalah capital expenditure lah. Alright, the magnitude of expenditure, how much, biasanya lagi banyak the amount, biasanya itu akan pergi kepada ataupun pergi sebagai capital expenditure. Alright, and kita boleh tengok juga the accounting treatment. So kita follow juga the accounting treatment untuk distinguish whether certain types of expenses ni, is it a capital or revenue expenditure. Test one, once and for all, which means you bayar sekali je. Okay. You beli kereta bayar deposit or bayar down payment, sekali je bayar. So that would be a capital expenditure. Kalau you beli benda lain, maybe kena service every month, itu bukan capital expenditure lah, itu ialah revenue expenditure. Test 2, enduring benefits, okay, which means you have to incur certain expenses to bring the asset into existence. Right? Remember when you purchase plant and machinery, kita ada installation cost whatever tu, okay, itu consider sebagai expenses to bring the asset into existence. So kalau ada benda tu, that would be considered as capital expenditure. Identifiable assets. Okay, kita boleh identify the asset tu. Expenditure incurred to acquire asset. Kita beli, let's say you purchase a building, you kena bayar untuk title dia, kena bayar untuk agreement dia, kena bayar untuk lawyer. So the payment tu boleh identify pergi kepada setiap asset, so that will be also considered as capital expenditure. Test number 4 is either fixed capital or circulating capital. Alright, fixed capital macam tadi lah, let's say kita beli building, fixed, or circulating capital, which means for example inventory kita. Inventory kita beli dan kita jual. You beli bangunan, kita beli tak jual-jual kan, beli guna as our let's say business punya industrial building kita, so that is a fixed capital. Circulating capital ni benda yang ada turnover lah, kita beli dan kita jual balik, for example inventory. So kalau circulating capital, dia bukan capital expenditure, dia adalah revenue expenditure. Right, and then test number 5 is business entity. Kalau it is done by business entity for the profit making intention, then that would be a capital expenditure. Alright, let's look at the provision of deduction. Okay, this one you really have to read your textbook. Sebabnya kalau you tengok dalam buku teks ni, the business deduction ni, outgoing and expenses, holding and exclusively incurred apa semua ni, okay, nampak macam buku cerita je kan, but you really have to read, otherwise you have no idea. Bila kita nak buat calculation nanti, kalau you tak baca, you don't know, kenapa kita tolak banyak tu, kenapa kita tolak 50% je, kenapa kita tolak 10% je, all those are actually in your textbook, okay. Alright, so section 33(1) says that the adjusted income of a person from a source for the basis period for a year of assessment shall be an amount ascertained by deducting from gross income of that person, ayat ni macam ayat law, but from that source for that period all outgoings and expenses wholly and exclusively incurred. Okay, dia mesti related to the business, related to the production of gross income. Okay, kalau tak related, then kita tak boleh tolak. For example, you run a business but you want to deduct your personal phone bills. Kita ada phone, you guna phone tu bukan untuk business tapi untuk personal. Or you want to deduct your holiday expenses, you pergi holiday with your family tapi nak tolak itu sebagai business expenses. So tak boleh lah. This is the meaning of the deduction provision. Dia mesti related to the business. Okay, deductions prohibited under section 39. Okay, ada 39, ada 1A until Q not deductible at arriving at the adjusted income. Ini specifically disallowed ni, applied to both business and also non-business source. So untuk yang tak dibenarkan ni, not allowed ni, you can refer to page 315 to 325 So for example, yang tak allowed is illegal expenses. Illegal deductions prohibited. Illegal expenses boleh tolak sebab tadi illegal business, illegal income pun dia taxable, so illegal expenses pun dia boleh tolak juga. Okay, deduction prohibited under section under Income Tax Act 1967 kalau tengok under page 315 ni, antara expenses yang not allowed is domestic and private expenses. Macam tadilah, your private phone bills, your private expenses for your holiday itu semua tak boleh tolak. Or expenditure not wholly incurred in the production of business pun tak boleh tolak. Dia yang tak boleh tolak ni lebih straightforward daripada yang boleh tolak. Yang boleh tolak tu dia ada macam-macam, because dia ada limit pula yang boleh tolak tu nanti. Alright, apa yang boleh tolak? Ini yang tak boleh tadi tak boleh tadi ni 39. 33 kata ini, these are yang boleh tolak type of expenses deductible in arriving at the adjusted income. Okay. It applies to all sources of income. So if you go back to our previous chapter yang kita belajar non-business income tu, for example untuk interest ada portion yang boleh tolak, ada yang tak boleh tolak kan. Untuk rent pun sama, ada allowable deduction and non-allowable deduction. So untuk rent contohnya kalau repair, maintenance boleh tolak. Tapi kalau you renovate the building contohnya, then itu tak boleh tolak because itu considered as capital expenditure. Alright, these are what they call a specific business deductions under section 34 and 35. Alright, boleh tolak bad debt, employer contribution to approved scheme of fund. This is EPF EPF. Dia kata EPF lah. Contohnya EPF. Payroll and turnover taxes, mining expenditure, replanting expenditure, equipment of disabled employees and alteration of renovation of premises for their use. Okay, ini satu special. If the company they employ disabled employees or dia buat something dekat office dia untuk disabled employee guna, contohnya dia buat ramp kan untuk naik dengan wheelchair tu, so dia dah renovate the building untuk disabled employees dia. So these expenses can be deducted. Allowable deductions mean from your income, kita tolak deduction, so you will get less profit kita kata, and you will be taxed less. So all these deduction ni will result in a lower income tax liability. Okay. Translation of national language publication, library facilities, community welfare, childcare facilities. Ini semua kalau company tu ada, dia buat, they can deduct from the income. Alright, halal certification, provision of scholarship to student, practical training, research activities, research expenditure. Ini semua boleh tolak. Alright, deductions of outgoings and wholly and exclusively expenses must be connected to the conduct of taxpayers business. Dia again kalau you baca balik the clause yang paling penting, apa yang dia tolak tu mestilah related to the business. Okay, these are the deductions not specifically mentioned in income tax provision tapi boleh tolak. Dalam income tax tu tak ada mention, tapi ini semua boleh tolak lah. You can refer to page 368 until 391. Right, for example accountancy fees boleh tolak. 368. Okay, dia review balik untuk yang ni, accountancy fee, advance and loans, advertising cost, bonus, travelling cost, income tax, ni semua boleh tolak. Clothing and tools, conference and trade exhibition travelling expenses, crop replanting, banyaklah defending capital asset, terminating redundant employees, fines and penalties, audit fees, stamp duties, insurance premium. Okay, nombor 1 sampai 33 ni, this will appear in the question. So kena tengoklah mana yang boleh tolak, mana yang tak boleh tolak. Right. In some cases, there are also double deductions. Double deduction means that kita dah tolak kat atas dah. In arriving at the profit tu, kita dah tolak dah these expenses, tapi kita boleh tolak lagi sekali. We call it double deduction. So ini ialah kind of incentive from the government lah. So untuk incentive ni, government kata okay, whoever yang incur this kind of expenses, they allow for double deduction, which mean the tax liability would be even lower. So sekarang ni the purpose of the deduction ni is actually to lower the income tax. Nanti company pula kenapa lah nak kena deduct? Okay, deduct ni is actually to reduce your income tax liability. Alright, so textbook page 392 to 400 dia ada bagi tahulah example of double deductions. Right, so saya list kat sini tak banyak. Some for example, nampak ayat dia dekat sini. Dia kata can be set off twice. Okay, maknanya you dah tolak tadi sekali and then you boleh tolak lagi sekali. Promotion of exports. For example, kita ada barang dan kita export pergi overseas, barang tu ialah Malaysian punya barang. So ini diberi sebagai insentif lah untuk manufacturing and agricultural company kan, nak jual barang buatan Malaysia. So kalau tengok sekarang ni banyak insentif kan. So one of the incentive is actually for the double deduction kalau you buat promotion for export. Or ada provide employee training programs untuk employee. Ada training program untuk upgrade skill lah apa semua tu kan. This also can be deduct double. Disabled person. Okay, gaji yang bayar dekat disabled person tu boleh dikira sebagai double deduction. Dia lah dikira sebagai incentive available to manufacturing company. So manufacturing companies kalau dia hire disabled person, dia boleh dapat double deduction untuk dia punya tax dia. Alright, so if a company involved in a research and development, all expenditure incurred can be deducted twice. Freight charges, certain manufacturing industries untuk, for example in Sabah, okay, dia boleh deduct double juga untuk freight charges dia. Brand promotion advertising, okay, ni barang Malaysia ni ada export quality standard, dia promote, dia buat promotion of a brand name letak dekat billboards ke, international airports ke, highway ke, dan mesti 70% Malaysian own. Okay, so kalau in this case the promotion dia pun boleh dapat double deduction. Okay. Alright, so these are the list of double deductions. So macam saya kata tadi lah, what you have to do is you have to read dalam buku teks ni line by line sebabnya. Okay, I already shared with you the example. Saya ambil example business taxation dari buku teks juga, the one that I share with you, the PDF file tu, page 531. Nanti saya buka. Alright, so this is the example. Mana yang ada buku teks boleh refer to textbook page 531. Okay, because you might wonder, tadi kita dah tengok business income, kita dah tengok business deduction, how do we actually calculate the taxation of companies So, apa yang kita ada dekat sini kalau you tengok your chapter apa ni chapter 13 taxation of companies is chapter 13. Saya tak share pun the notes sebab notes dia tak ada apa pun dalam ni, banyak baca je. I just want to share with you the computation here. Alright, this is a pure business taxation example. Maknanya kita tengah buat untuk company, bukan untuk individual lagi dah. So, for business taxation ni, what you have to do is, or what you will be given is, kalau kita tengok dekat sini kita ada income statement. Untuk kira tax computation, kita hanya perlukan income statement. Because, nampak, these are actually prepared using accounting punya standard all the income and expenses ni, okay, dapatlah sampai net profit before tax. Alright, 19882 ni net profit before tax. So, our net profit before tax ni, this will be our starting point. That is why for tax computation, untuk business tax, kita perlukan income statement, and because you will have to start your computation with net profit before tax. Of course lah before tax lah sebab kita sekarang nak kira tax dia berapa. Okay, so kita akan guna figure ni, net profit before tax. Like I said before, this is from accounting So our net profit before tax in accounting ni takkan sama dengan net profit before tax using our tax computation. Alright, so here kita just go through sikit lah It is a very long question. Saya tak plan nak go through sampai habis. What I want you to do is, later on, you nak kata go back, tak boleh dah, memang ada dekat rumah kan. Later on, you will have to go through the examples, and untuk next week saya akan go through this example, kita akan tengok one by one, and I will find you a tutorial question, but not after class lah, maybe later, so that I can share with you and you can go through the example. So jangan terkejut and do not panic, this is very long question. And sebelum you tanya, this will be in your final exam juga. So final exam kita comprehensive your final exam will be from chapter 1 sampailah topik minggu depan. Okay. Ada lagi ke semua orang ni ke dah pitam tengok example panjang sangat? Discouraged and demotivated to get the question sebab dia sangat panjang. But once you dapat the gist, panjang betul. Once you dapat the gist how to compute, then shock lah nak kira because yang ni saya suka example ni because it is a very good example, comprehensive, semua ada dalam ni. Jangan nak terkejut. Semua ada dalam ni. It is a very good example example 1, and also kalau tengok dalam buku teks ada another example 2. So nanti untuk dia saja nak teaser this is a teaser for your taxation 2 next semester kan. You belajar benda ni satu semester. Kita belajar 1 minggu je. Nanti tax 2 you belajar benda ni satu semester Alright, I will go through very brief today. So kita mula dengan sales, you have cost of sales, ada note dalam ni. Alright, you also have other income. Bertenang, jangan panik tengok soalan. And these are the expenses. Ada setiap expenses ni ada note dia. Okay. Kita ada remuneration, professional fees, advertising, entertainment expenses, interest, bad debt, lease, rental, repair, maintenance, foreign exchange loss, banyak item dia Fines and penalty, donations, insurance, research and development, and also depreciation. And we have profit before tax 19882. So banyak notes dia kan, note 1 until note 15 kan. So kita skip jap the notes tu, saya nak tunjukkan how do we start actually benda ni. Right, panjang note dia, mana dia nak habis. Sampai dalam note 16, all the capital allowance semua dia dump dalam ni example ni sangat comprehensive. Alright, so based on this question, you are required to compute the income tax liability. So this is our purpose for taxation ni. Kita nak kira the income tax liability for Subang Electronics for year assessment 2018. Alright, how do you start? How do you present your answer? First of all, business income is section 4A. Tulislah macam ni. And then you will have column untuk add, deduct. Sebab ada item yang kita nak tambah, ada item yang kita nak tolak dia boleh. Kalau you nak buat satu column pun boleh, provided that you know lah item tu you nak tambah ke, you nak bracketkan ke, nak tolak ke. So untuk example ni, dia tunjukkan kita this is the way to do it. Satu column untuk tambah, satu column untuk deduct salah. Okay. So kita start dengan net profit before tax. Okay. Sebab kita nak kira daripada profit before tax ni berapa banyak tax liability yang kita kena bayar. Kalau dia bukan straightforward macam ni je, terus ambil net profit before tax terus darab dengan tax, tak ada. Kita kena buat adjustment. So these are called adjustments lah. Some can be added, some can be deducted. Alright, so kalau you tengok the notes for example untuk note 1 ni, cost of sales tadi, dalam cost of sales saya go through sikit lah untuk yang ni. Dia ada donation to approved institution. Dia jual electrical appliances tapi dia donate Bila dia donate, harga normal selling price is 70,000. Alright, yang mana ada buku boleh tengok the answer dia macam mana. Kalau ikutkan the donation ni to electrical appliances ni kena tambah balik lah, because you tak boleh tolak dekat sini. Electrical appliances. And then theft of stock. Kalau tengok dalam ni ada juga barang dia kena curi company's warehouse was broken into and 40,000 was stolen, tapi dia dapat insurance recovery and they not off against insurance charges. You boleh baca the notes to answer dia kata dekat sini patutnya goods loss ni boleh tolak dalam ni tapi sebab ada insurance, sepatutnya kat sini theft of stock ni kita boleh tolak dekat sini dia boleh deduct. Tapi sebab dia dapat insurance so jadi tak adalah. So dia offset theft of stock dengan insurance recovery. Kalau ikutkan theft of stock ni boleh tambah, insurance recovery ni boleh tolak. Sebab tu dia letak nil kat sini Okay, under income dia 4555 tu, kalau tengok note number 2 dia ada rent derived from a property in Indonesia and receive a dividend rent property Indonesia received in Singapore credited to bank account in Singapore, and dia dapat dividend juga received from Malaysian public listed company during the basis period. Okay. Okay, kalau tengok rent dengan dividend ni, it is not taxable sebab tu kita tolak balik daripada income. Sebab sekarang ni kena ingat, income ni dah masuk dalam ni. Whatever yang ada dekat column add ni, ini ialah yang kita kata sebagai taxable. Right, yang add ni kena tax. Yang deduct ni, dia deduction lah, tak kena tax. So, the rent and also the dividend ni, ingat tadi saya kata for a resident company or resident individual, whatever income yang dia remit into Malaysia, okay, it's not taxable So, kita kena keluarkan lah because this is not taxable so kita kena keluarkan, kita deduct 180 and 75, and also compensation on termination of contract. Okay, remuneration yang ni memang kena baca lah for example entertainment allowance to directors. Kalau tengok dalam notes ni, entertainment allowance to directors ni, director dapat 440,000 entertainment allowance, tapi under the deduction ni entertainment allowance untuk director dia hanya allow 50%. Right, so the 50% ni is in the act dia cuma allow 50%. So another 50 ni 220 dia kena bayar tax. Dia allow 220 je. Right, remember column yang saya kata act ni, ini semua yang akan kena tax nanti. Yang ini yang tak kena. This one yang the deductions Alright, unapproved fund contribution, unapproved so unapproved tak boleh tolak lah. Unapproved kena tax Disabled employee salary. Okay, ini tadi salah satu contoh employee salary. Mana tu? 3. Alright. Employee salary dalam in arriving at the profit before tax, salary dah ditolak tadi. But remember salary untuk employee ni dia double deduction. So tadi dah tolak dekat atas sana dan nak dapat income ni kita dah tolak tadi. But dia entitled to double deduction sebab ini ialah disabled employee. So kita tolak lagi sekali dekat sini 48. This is double deduction. You dah tolak dekat sana tadi, so you tolak lagi sekali dekat sini. Kalau ikutkan, kalau dia ialah salary biasa dia nil lah. You tak boleh tolak sebab you dah tolak dekat atas tadi kan. Masa kita kira profit before tax kita dah tolak salary. But this is for disabled employee. So kita tolak lagi sekali. Double deduction Alright, professional fees, legal fee on unfair dismissal. Okay, nil. Maknanya ini boleh ditolakkan. Non-trade debt collection. Okay, kalau debt collection, trade collection, boleh tolak. Tapi sekarang non-trade, dia tak ada kaitan dengan business, non-trade. Ini hutang saja bagi hutang personal ke, tapi dia nak tolak sebagai expenses, tak boleh. So kita kena tambah balik. That will be tax. Accounting and auditing fees, remember secretary fee tadi, semua ni yang kita boleh deduct. So nil-nil lah sebab kita dah tolak tadi dekat in arriving at our profit before tax tadi. Okay, advertising on Malaysian branded goods. Ingat lagi advertising on Malaysian branded goods ni termasuk dalam kategori double deduction. Okay, double deduction. So dia mana advertising? Advertising cost dia ialah 54,000. Alright, dah tolak dekat our calculation awal tadi. Double deduction, kita tolak lagi sekali dekat sini. Alright, and also the rest. Yang lain-lain ni saya tak go through sampai habis lah. Nanti kita boleh tengok next week. Okay, contoh repair and maintenance. New alarm system, capital. Dia dah tolak masa dalam kita punya calculation dalam soalan tadi, dia dah tolak new alarm system. Padahal ini adalah capital expenditure, so kita kena tambah balik. That will be taxable. Replacement of component parts, ini semua revenue expenditure. So nil maknanya boleh tolak lah. Tak ada kena tax lah untuk revenue expenditure ni. Okay, panjang lagi answer dia. Donation. Ada contoh macam donation dekat sini. Macam fine and penalty kan. Fine and penalty ni tak boleh tolak. Tapi dia dah tolak dalam expenses dia. So kita kena tambah balik dekat sini. We add again untuk dia bayar tax lah sebab fine and penalty is not is taxable. Donation. Okay, ni scholarship. Dia boleh deduct. Cultural show tak kena tax. University library, okay, donation dekat university library ni maximum is 100. Sekarang ni dia donate 115,000. Dia dapat exemption up to 100,000 je. The different tu dia kena bayar tax juga. Insurance, R&D, depreciation. Okay, so ini total untuk yang kita dah tambah. Ini total untuk yang kita dah tolak. So this one minus this one. You will have an adjusted income of 19,982.4. Alright, tengok dalam note number 16, kita ada capital allowance, ambil je semua, tolakkan, dapat 19,879. Dalam soalan pun bagi investment tax allowance, tolakkan, dia ada business loss brought forward, tolakkan lagi. Alright, dan dia ada other income. Tadi ada single tier dividend dengan exempt, dengan rental kan daripada overseas tadi, tapi itu ialah exempted lah. So nil-nil, dapatlah aggregate income. Tolak donation, dapatlah chargeable income. Okay, tax payable. Untuk business kita tax. Untuk year 2018, the rate is 24%. Dia tak ada pakai table macam personal Dia terus je, fix je 24%. So this would be the tax payable. What I want to show you is that, kalau you tengok dekat sini kan, chargeable income 19,507. Tak sama dengan profit before tax 19,882. So nampak, in accounting kita calculate nak cari profit, in taxation kita calculate nak cari chargeable income. Panjang kan dia punya dia punya soalan Do you have any questions tak? Berapa jam diberikan? Okay, sikit information for your final exam. Ini pun I have to end the class soon sebab saya ada meeting sekarang pukul 9. Kita meeting hari ni untuk vet the final exam, final assessment lah. Ada subjek yang buat exam, ada subjek yang buat project khas kan. So untuk paper kita ni, saya plan for a 6-hour exam. Exam saya buat sebenarnya you all boleh siap dalam masa 3 jam je. Kalau kita buat exam face to face, this would be a 3-hour exam. Tapi sebab new norms ni semua nak buat dekat komputer, ambil masa nak download soalan, ambil masa nak upload jawapan so I will give you 6 hours, 5 questions for your final exam. So apa yang kita dah discuss dekat peringkat jabatan paper major yang offered by the department, kita akan susun jadual. So that tak adalah nanti contohnya you all ambil paper saya dengan paper Dr. Anis katakan in management accounting, so saya akan make sure lah paper tu bukan the question will not be released on the same day. Okay, tapi soalan pula. Tarikh kita belum decide lagi. Banyak Tak, this is too long. This is sangat panjang. Final tak ada panjang macam ni. Ni panjang, ini satu soalan nak jawab pun 1 jam ni. Tak ada. Not that long lah. But this will help you to understand. This is the format nak kira dia. Okay? Ada soalan lagi tak? Takut? Alah, janganlah. So, I think everybody agrees sebab hari tu saya dah tanya untuk format exam kita. Itulah, tak naklah nanti lepas ni you all complain pula kata exam 3 minggu. No. Our calculation paper is calculation paper. I don't think there is no point for me to give you 3 weeks to answer taxation question. And then you all ada banyak lagi paper kan. Tak naklah saya bagi soalan lepas tu 3 minggu semua pun buat sikit and then by the time you nak hantar, you kena hantar semua So untuk paper yang buat exam, kita dah decide so you are the first to know lah, kita dah decide di peringkat jabatan yang paper-paper offered by accounting department ni, kita akan susun jadual exam dia yang mana lecturer akan release the question ikut tarikh. And bergantung pada lecturer tu lah, some lecturer nak bagi 1 hari, some lecturer nak bagi 5 jam, some lecturer nak bagi 3 hari. So itu bergantung pada you all punya paper sendiri. But for my paper, for our paper, I think I will give you 6 hours to complete. Cukup, more than enough. 6 hours is more than enough. 6 hours ni to take into consideration our friends yang ada problem with the internet. So ambil masa nak download soalan, nak jawab, and nanti you all kena baca the instructions lah, because the instruction tu you have to write dengan tangan je. You don't have to use the computer untuk jawab. Calculate dengan handwriting je. And saya tengah fikir lagi sama ada you still need to mail me the hard copy. Sebab ada lecturer yang dia kata dia rasa macam dia nak student hantar jawapan online tapi jawapan tu kena post juga. Post tu sampai lambat pun tak apalah sebab you dah hantar online kan. So tengoklah saya kalau boleh tak naklah benda yang boleh increase your cost tapi if we really need to keep the hard copy, kita tengoklah macam mana nanti. But when you submit tu, actually benda boleh print je what it will be in the system. And for your final exam nanti, the question will be posted both dalam My Guru dan juga Google Classroom. Tarikh tak tahu lagi. Exam kita mula 10 Ogos kan, and I don't think I will post the question first day lah, bukan first day kot. First day kita nak allocate untuk paper lain. Alright, we have any questions tak? Ada soalan lagi tak? Kalau tak ada, saya nak turun meeting dia orang tunggu saya dah tu. Meeting start at 9 sebenarnya. Saya yang tersalah. Saya nak buat meeting petang ni sebenarnya. Tapi saya pergi set pagi. Padahal muka saya lupa saya ada kelas. So they are waiting for me. Right, if you have no question, jangan terkejut untuk hari ni saya tak ada assign tutorial question lagi. Mesti doktor tunggu-tunggu kan. Alamak, doktor tak ada kerja ke? Sabar. Soalan will be posted later. Saya tengah cari soalan yang sesuai. Macam you all kata ni panjang kan. So I will try to find a shorter question. Boleh nangis. Tak apalah, jawab exam, letak kotak tisu kat sebelah. Alright, okay. So if you have no question, then I'll see you next week. Dan kalau, but please I really need you to go through the example. Go through dulu example ni sampai dapat jawapan, and if you have problem, next week kita boleh discuss lagi. Saya allocate next week untuk buat business tax juga. But if everybody okay, maybe next week kita boleh buat our last topic. Sebab next week pun dah minggu 13 So kalau tak perlu, minggu 14 mungkin tak ada kelas lah. Kalau perlu kita buat kelas lagi untuk revision ke apa ke. Alright, so if you have no question, thank you very much. And I'm sorry I have to go very fast today. 1.5 jam je kita hari ni. And you still have time untuk go through the example. Please so those of you yang tak ada buku teks, maybe the one yang ada buku teks, you can snap a picture of this example. Tapi saya dah letak dalam group kan, dalam Google Classroom this example, so tak ada buku pun tak apa. But the reading parts tu lah, if you still remember last time saya ada share kan the document ataupun link daripada PwC kot. Itu the comprehensive explanation about taxation. Alright, so if you have no question, thank you very much for today, and bolehlah pergi makan ke mandi ke kalau ada yang belum mandi And I'll see you next week. Alright, thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, bye-bye. Oh, hari ni saya tak on camera Bagus jugalah, cepat sikit you all punya dapat data kan. Tak ada tengok gambar. Tak ada tengok video. Alright, thank you. Take care.